Well, the campaigning is over and election day is finally here. British voters going to the polls to decide the closest race for decades. Will it be Prime Minister Brown, Cameron or Clegg? No opinion polls today, of course, but gamblers have long proved more reliable forecasters of election results than the pollsters. So where is the smart money going? Robb of Betfair joins me now. Mike, thanks for coming in. Breaking Views, Reuters Breaking Views put out a piece this morning saying gamblers have only got it wrong in the US twice over 140 years. The gamblers are kind of pointing now, or were at least, to a Tory majority. What do you think? It's
flipped recently. So as looking back at Saturday, the Tories were odds on for that majority at 52%, give or take. And that's come back now. They're now about 43%, and a hung parliament is at 56%. But over the course of the day, we're seeing a lot of changes as well. So that's down 3% on the day from 59% as things happen.
So in terms of a final result, what are the betting odds saying?
Right now, they're saying there's going to be a hung parliament, but marginally. It's up in the air.
With the Tories as the biggest party?
With the Tories as the biggest party, yes.
OK. It's looking like just over 300 seats could clinch it for Cameron. What are the odds saying on that?
The current predictions for the Tories are 320, Labour on 215 to 220, and the Lib Dems between 80 and 85. Now, with the UUP in Northern Ireland, that would obviously be enough for the Conservatives. But again, it's close, and gamblers are saying there's definitely a chance that they can break that 326 mark and get higher.
What about, obviously, for punters on services like Betfair, they can bet right up until the last moment, and I imagine after that as well. What are the game changers likely to be between now and tomorrow afternoon?
I think over the course of the day, it's going to be people that are actually involved in the process. So someone comes out of their polling stations, having a chat outside, gets a sense of what's happened in that constituency, and they may go home and think, let's have a look at the odds wherever you are, whether it be a London constituency or a rural constituency.
And what are the most traded constituencies right now?
The biggest one recently has been Morley and Outwood, where Ed Balls is now favourite to lose his seat there. And that is obviously the reason why that's so heavily traded. Closely followed by Brighton Pavilion, which had been our biggest constituency for the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
So, but we've got all 650 on there, and any individual story that breaks, whether it's Jack Straw and Blackburn, who's also looking vulnerable, you know, the punters are going to react to that online.
Back to this hung parliament idea, which is what you're saying is now the most likely outcome. Back in '74, there was an election, 7, 8 months later. What kind of odds can you get on there being 2 elections this year?
We're just under 5 to 2 at the moment on another one in this calendar year. Now, it's obviously a bit tight in terms of the timescale because you're looking at 6, 7 months, but it could happen. And that's come in a lot. I think about a month ago, it was as high as 7 or 8 to 1. So punters really do think that's a possibility. And if there is a hung parliament, in my view, that's probably a decent bet.
It seems markets are making this bet on the Tories, fixed income markets in particular. What are you saying on next Chancellor? I know this has moved around quite a lot, but what are the odds saying now?
That's been one of my most surprising markets watching it over the last month. Vince Cable was in the high 20 to 1s a month and a half ago, and he's now 3 to 1 second favourite. I mean, that is an extraordinary price for him. George Osborne is still the odds-on favourite at around about 1 to 2, but again, that was a nailed-on 95% chance at one point, and now not only do we have Vince Cable, we've also got Ken Clarke at about 8 to 1, and Philip Hammond as well has come into about 15 to 1. So there's clearly 2 stories there. One, will the Lib Dems sit in that coalition government, or will Cameron dump Osborne at the first opportunity for one of the others? So there's lots of stories around there, and again, those markets will be heavily
What kind of odds
traded.
are you getting on that, on Cameron dumping Osborne?
Well, I mean, you infer that from the 8 to 1 on Ken Clarke having been 40 to 1 a month ago, and so there's clearly that indication that it's a possibility.
Next Labour leader?
David Miliband, and again, that's a story that's changed over the last month as well. We had Alan Johnson as the clear favourite. He was odds on for a while. And that's flipped. So that suggests again that maybe there's a chance there of him taking over from Brown and then working with the Liberals. It's all up in the air.
I want to finish up with what punters think of if we get a Lib-Labour coalition, who the leader of the Labour Party, what the odds are now that Brown's going to be replaced.
Well, the odds-on favourite is that Brown will go by the end of June. So from that, it's difficult to say exactly when it would happen or if it would happen. But clearly the favourite is David Miliband to take over, Alan Johnson a bit behind, and then you've got the likes of Harriet Harman even in there with a chance, whether or not they appoint someone for the long term or someone for the short term.
But sorry to put you on the spot here, but the Lib Lab coalition without Brown as at the helm of the Labour Party, what are the odds?
There's a market showing what the likely scenario is, and that's the third favourite at 10% chance, which again to me seems quite high, and that's clearly punters saying there is a real chance of Labour dumping Brown. We're being forced to dump Brown by the Liberals and then forming that government with a new leader. A Cameron minority government is the favourite in that market at just over evens. So that market in particular is very changeable.
Okay, Mike, thanks a lot for coming in. Mike, Robb, you're going to have a late night tonight. Mike, Robb of Betfair, our election results coverage starts bright and early tomorrow morning. Join us at 5:15 We'll be speaking to two leading FX and gilt market analysts about the overnight market impact. And plenty more after that. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.